Donkey Kong 64 might have been a misstep as a game, but it was a critical hit in sales. The franchise was still a powerhouse, and a year later, Rare released a port of Donkey Kong Country to the Game Boy Color. It was sort of a companion Donkey Kong Land-esque game to DK64. It even runs on the Land engine. I always get a kick out of seeing a game running on vastly inferior hardware like this. There's basically no point to the game now, but it was really cool to have a portable DKC back in 2000. It's also a lot harder than the Super NES version. Rare kept the same large character sprites, but with the stage layouts on this tiny screen, you have a lot less time to react. It was obvious to everyone that the future was bright for the Big Ape. No one, seemingly not even Rare itself, had any reason to suspect otherwise. At E3 2001, Nintendo showed off a trailer for what was to be the Thrilla Gorilla's first GameCube game, Donkey Kong Racing. A game that could tie up Diddy Kong Racing's loose ends, bring back our old favorites, and unite all the characters and worlds that Rare had spent the last 8 years building. And as awesome as DK Racing looked, can you imagine what a new mainline platformer might look like on the GameCube? Because we knew it was coming.
It may take 2 years. It may take 4 years. It may take 6 years. But it's coming.
I remember reading those words on the dilapidated, antiquated old fan site DKVine.com way back in 2001, and I got chills. By the way, weren't fan sites great? Web 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever on nowadays, that's fine and all, but there was a lot of charm in the passion and fun of these badly coded, badly written, horribly designed, barely functional. Okay, never mind. Maybe fan sites deserve to die out.
It's called being dedicated to your fandom.
Wait. What? The famous Heil Slush Russell of DKVine.com is more than a mere echo of a bygone era? You're still here on the internet to this day?
Fuck yeah! Check out our Patreon, subscribe to the Conversation Podcast on iTunes, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube!
That's right, Heil, and don't forget our Twitch channel.
Chad McCanna is here too? The fake paid actor Chad McCanna? Dude, I loved your work in the Sea of Thieves trailer.
The sail's blocking my vision, so you're gonna need to tell me where to steer.
I'm looking at the water, Chad. Shut up.
Didn't I also see you in a pizza commercial one time? But okay, look, I know who you guys are. And let me guess, you're the founders of DK Vine, and so you've brought your satiric yet earnest fandom to help me critique some Donkey Kong games, right?
No, Josh, we're just here to make sure that you don't besmirch the good name of Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble again. We watched your retrospective. We see that you've disgraced yourself on the altar of public taste. Frankly, I've never been more disgusted.
The Brothers Bear are better than sex. With them, you get off 14 times.
Even that statement is less revolting than the Geek critiques Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble review.
Look, dude, we can agree to disagree, but I'm not the one who said that DK64 was better than Donkey Kong Country 2.
I was 14, and I do regret that immensely.
The important thing was, if I can get back to my video, a new generation had arrived, and a new Donkey Kong game was on the way. I was hyped for Smash Bros. Melee, but as I read that ridiculous Miyamoto quote on the back of the GameCube box, I knew that the biggest reason I'd bought this system was Donkey Kong Racing. I could not wait.
But everything changed when Microsoft bought out Rare. Amicably, I might add. Remember, Nintendo owned a 49% stake in the company, and the deal couldn't have gone down without their agreement.
People won't realize that a lot was changing at Nintendo during this time. Satoru Iwata had become their new president, Howard Lincoln stepped down to oversee the Nintendo-owned Seattle Mariners, Rare lost one of their biggest allies when Ken Lobb was courted by Microsoft. Overnight, the entire culture changed at Nintendo, and Rare, who had provided hit after hit for the latter-day SNES era and the entirety of the N64, no longer fit into the company's plans. I blame 9/11.
It's the only reasonable explanation.
Rare always treated Donkey Kong as their de facto mascot, but at the end of the day, he belonged to Nintendo. With the driving force of the franchise unable to develop it any further, Donkey Kong Racing was cancelled, and the superlative simian's fate was back in Nintendo's hands. And so, we waited. We waited until 2003. It had been years since the last big game in one of Nintendo's most beloved and respected franchises. Surely Nintendo wouldn't screw up by giving the fans who had waited so long something they had never even asked for. Wait, why are we rolling footage of Metroid? Oh. Nintendo. Nintendo never changes. Because the first big game of this new era was not a return to form, no. It was Donkey Konga.
Donkey and Diddy find a set of bongos on the beach, and inexplicably have to go to Cranky to learn that they are, in fact, bongos. Donkey Kong doesn't know that these are bongos, despite the fact that DK's instrument in the last game was, of course, bongos.
Don't be stupid, Chad. These are different magical bongos that glow when you clap. And because DK is nothing if not hedonistic, he declares them the DK bongos. Donkey and Diddy decide to become musical superstars for some reason. But first, they'll have to practice. And yep, that's the plot.
But here's the thing, those bongos, those are real. This is your controller. You play the game by hitting them, and there's even a sensor that picks up when you clap. To be honest, the bongos themselves are really well made, as Nintendo hardware tends to be, but God, what a weird concept. But, you know, Donkey Kong Country was legendary for its soundtrack, and a game where you play that music could actually be something special. It works for Final Fantasy now, and it could work for DK.
Yeah, what memorable melodies would we be treated to? Mining Melancholy?
Nope!
Sticker Bush Symphony?
No. We get the Smash Brothers version of the DK rap, and that, my friends, is the only Donkey Kong song in the whole game. You got a few other Nintendo tracks, the Western themes for the Kirby and Pokemon anime, a few generic kids songs like Happy Birthday and Bingo, then the bulk of the playlist is just god-awful covers of pop songs.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Despite this, Donkey Konga somehow got a sequel in less than a year, with a new set list and some new modes. And in Japan, where the series was actually popular, because of course it was, there was even a third Konga. In fact, every region's release had its own set list.
I guess the idea had potential, and I did begrudgingly kind of enjoy the original just for what a stupid idea it was, but there's a reason nobody is clamoring for a return of this trilogy.
Donkey Konga 2 remains one of the worst games I've ever played, and is a contender for a worst Donkey Kong game of all time. The greatest sin of this game is they somehow put even less DK music in it. In a North American version, they decided to try to make it trendy by filling it with top 40 music from the early aughts. This meant music that was in no way tonally appropriate for Donkey Kong, like Good Charlotte and Blue Cantrell. As a result, Donkey Konga 2 was the first Donkey Kong game to have a teen rating. I hate this game so much.
Just give it up, man. You're never gonna beat it.
No thanks to you. At least I had the stomach to play it longer than 10 minutes.
I stand by my life choices.
The problem was, Donkey Kong was now irrevocably chained to this thing, so any Donkey Kong game that came out on the GameCube was gonna have to use it. Even if that game was a 2D platformer. 2005 saw the release of Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Pound on the left or right bongo to run in those directions, hit both bongos at once to jump, clap to stun enemies and grab bananas. God, that sounds stupid. Worse yet, for no reason other than a seeming lack of respect for anything Rare created, the game aimed to be a soft reboot for the whole franchise. New animal buddies serve the exact same function as existing ones. For the first time, the Kremlin crew loses their antagonistic role. In fact, other than DK himself, no other character from Rare's series even makes an appearance.
No other character besides, and I'm quoting the game's director, the banana. The decision was made to excise any and all Rare influence from the title to avoid that not-so-fresh feeling.
But on the plus side, there's no Kiddy Kong.
I will smack your Season 2 Commander Riker wannabe beard off, Josh.
Yes, and how does it feel, Heil, to know that you can never be number one?
Hey, hang on a second. I have facial hair too now.
Barely.
Okay, but seriously, if you thought Konga had a poor excuse for a plot, just you wait. I'm going to read Jungle Beat's entire story from the manual verbatim. Here it is, wedged into the contents page. Pound anything that gets in DK's way as he conquers the kingdoms and becomes the king of the Jungle Lands. Yeah, that's good enough for a plot.
which completely misses the point of Rare's reinterpretation of Donkey Kong. Like real gorillas in nature, he was only hostile when he or his family were threatened. Nintendo really seemed keen to reinvent Donkey Kong as a toothy grin-bearing jackass during this era.
So with all of this going against it, this game was born to suck. With its blatant XPs and its goofy cartoony aesthetics and its stupid bongo controller. But then you start playing it. You start enjoying a control scheme that has no right to feel this natural and intuitive. Level design that's bombastic and fast-paced and just so much creativity. Then you find out that the team that designed Jungle Beat would go on to create the Mario Galaxy series, and it starts to click into place. The tone might not feel like a typical Donkey Kong game, but that's easier to forgive nowadays, and I have to admit this is a really fun game. I kinda regret that Konga put me off from the bongos so much, because I think I'd have had a blast with Jungle Beat even back in 05. I didn't end up giving it a chance until the new Play Control version for the Wii years later. Here, it controls more like a traditional platformer, and overhauls a lot of the level design and mechanics to accommodate that. In fact, they even expanded on the story. It's a very different game, but either version would be worth your time. It's one of the best examples I can think of a concept that just shouldn't work, yet it does. So it's kind of the exact opposite of Kiddy Kong.
Josh, you need to stop criticizing the third game in the most perfect, wonderful, magical trilogy in the history of entertainment.
Ah, dude, that's fine. It can still be a legendary trilogy, even if one of them is kind of flawed. It's like Return of the Jedi or The Temple of Doom.
Oh, I warned you, motherfucker.
Dude, you knocked him out, despite the fact that we're clearly recording this over Skype.
There's not a man alive who would fault me for that.
So, I guess it falls on us to do some due diligence, which reasonable people apparently do at the end of their content. If you're a backer for this fine, unconscious Josh gentleman on Patreon for $3 a month or more, you can already see part 2 of this wrap-up a week early. And do consider giving him some money, despite the fact that he clearly hates Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble.
Chad, we give this Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble hating gentleman our money.
Like this video. Go back and watch the rest of the Geek Critique's brilliant Donkey Kong retrospective videos, except for the one on Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble.
He's also done episodes on Smash Brothers, The Virtual Boy, and more than 30 more, so check him out! Like us both on Facebook, follow us both on Twitter, pan his subreddit, and you keep geeking.
Josh will keep critiquing whenever he wakes up. Was he wearing Crocs?